Well, let's hear from the government now. A little earlier this morning, I spoke to the Science and Technology Secretary Michelle Donelan. I'd like to begin, as we usually do on this programme at the moment, by asking on behalf of viewers with relatives and friends in the region, what do we know about the fate of British citizens in Gaza, in particular, any who might be held hostage?
So, first of all, my heart goes out to anybody who's impacted and has loved ones over there, and I can't even begin to imagine what they're going through at the moment. That's why one of our top priorities is trying to get British citizens back, also to protect all of the civilians in the area, and that's why we've been encouraging Israel to make sure that their approach, whilst obviously their right to defend themselves is a priority, but their approach has to be in line with international humanitarian law. So our representatives on the ground are trying to secure the return of our British nationals as quickly as we possibly can. We know that 950 people have already returned via the flights that we put on, and we're working with a border force on the ground as well to try and assist those returns from people that are in Gaza and want to be able to flee back for safety.
You say that you're encouraging, asking the Prime Minister of Israel and his administration essentially to have regard to international law. Israel stopped the supply of water and food to Gaza. It bombed targets inside Gaza. Unknown number of casualties. Cut off the internet and phone, so we don't quite know what's gone on in there. Yesterday, the head of the EU's External Affairs Service accused Israel of war crimes, and the accusations obviously been rejected by Mr. Netanyahu. But do you think that the EU officials' view has any justification?
I think we need to remember, why is all of this happening? This is happening because a terrorist organisation that we all recognise as a terrorist organisation brutally attacked Israel with no just cause at all, killing thousands of innocent people, leaving many others deeply injured. It was a horrific massacre on a scale of something that we haven't seen for a long time, and it was completely and utterly unjustified. And therefore, Israel absolutely has a right to defend itself, which is in line with international law. And that is very much what we believe as a government. If this happened, let's just think about it, if this happened on our shores and we were attacked in that way, would we be trying to rescue our hostages? Of course we would. But
we would not have a blank cheque to do so in any way we pleased, would we?
No, but we do need to remember the complexities here. So the complexities are that Hamas enmesh themselves and embed themselves with the people themselves. They use them as human shields. Israel is trying to defend itself. Hamas is using the Palestinian people to defend Hamas. Now, that is wrong. We know that they have tunnels all underneath. We know that they utilise public buildings. It is very difficult to get to Hamas without hurting innocent civilians. We, of course, though, have said that the priority needs to be to try and avoid doing that because we don't want to see any loss of life. Absolutely.
You say to try and avoid that, but this is war. It is chaos. There need to be rules. Have you set down any red lines for Israel? Things which it might do, to which you would have to say the UK government could no longer support you?
I don't think we need to do that because there is already structures in place. There's international law that is well established. The Prime Minister's made his views very clear. He's been to the region, so has the Foreign Secretary, and multiple conversations have been undertaken, and we've been crystal clear. We defend Israel's right to defend itself, but we absolutely believe that should be done in line with
But you know what people would say here, and I don't know about people, I'll ask you this.
Yes.
It sounds like what you said to the Israelis is, you can do whatever you want, and, OK, we know there's international law, but we know that that's always murky, but actually we'll support you come what may. Is that
No,
right?
That's categorically not what we've said. The Prime Minister has stood there and said he backs Israel's right to defend itself, just like we would expect our own right to be able to defend ourselves were the shoe on the other foot. But that must be done within international law, and the protection of civilians must be a priority. And we've seen Israel telling the Gazan people to go to the south. We've also seen Hamas telling them not to move.
And you're clear, as far as we can tell, given that There's no news, or not been any news coming out of Gaza until this morning because the lines were cut off. You are confident that what Israel is doing right now and has done in the last couple of weeks is within international law?
Look, I'm not an international lawyer, and it isn't in my jurisdiction to make that decision. Those judgments... I
mean the government as a whole.
Yeah, well, those judgments will be made in due course based on all of the evidence. As you said a moment ago, you know, it is a fast-pacing environment. Things are happening that we aren't even aware of on the ground. Those judgments and views will be made at a later date by the relevant and appropriate bodies.
All right. We know that this conflict is spilling over into the streets of Britain itself, their demonstrations and so on. This morning it's reported that the government is considering reviewing the law on the definition of extremism. Is that correct?
So we have a definition. It's been about since, I believe, 2011, and we believe that the current law is fit for purpose. We do have, of course, the Terrorism Act, we have the Public Order Act that the police can deploy in these types of circumstances where people are actively promoting a terrorist organisation or inciting hatred and promoting violence. And we've seen some of that happen. We've seen some arrests taking place. Home Secretary has been working with the police because we want to see a more stricter clampdown, shall we say. And, of course, we keep everything under review. Oh,
so just for clarity, because these things get about and rumours, and then everybody gets into an argument that's not necessary. There is no review on the definition of extremism planned or going on at this moment.
So everything is always kept under constant review. In terms of a formal review, what we've said to date is that we believe the existing law is robust enough and the police should be applying that in these circumstances. Of course, if we feel that over the coming weeks that's not enough, what I'm saying to you is, of course, we take further action, but we do strongly believe that the current law is fit for purpose. That's what the Home Secretary has said.
So actually, later on in this programme, I'll be talking to Sir Mark Rowley, the Commissioner of Met Police, and your message to him is, understand your point, concede that you might have a problem, but honestly, you've got enough law, get on and enforce it.
So the Home Secretary has already had those conversations with him directly about the need to apply the law robustly in these circumstances. We cannot have situations where people are protesting in a way that is aggravating violence, inciting hatred or promoting terrorism. Now, at the same time, we respect the right to...
happening?
So let me finish this point and then I'll come back to that. We 100% respect the right to protest and the right for freedom of speech and people to air their views and be concerned with certain approaches. That is absolutely fine. But there is a line, and when that line is passed, it can be dangerous for the rest of the British public. And that's why the police have been already making arrests and why the Home Secretary has very publicly urged them to continue to do so and to double down on that.
Well, this is interesting. We don't know. We don't know about these arrests. From what you have seen, have these demonstrations or parts of them or individuals within them crossed that line?
Well, yes, there have. There's been individuals holding up placards of those images to represent those people that went in just a few weeks ago.
The paragliders.
Yeah, and killed innocent babies and raped women and massacred people. And that is inciting hatred and promoting violence and terrorism.
OK, you're clear. Wearing that picture, which we've seen photos of it, is a breach of the law.
So I personally think that it is inciting hatred and it is something that the police should be looking at. They are operationally independent. It is not down to me as Secretary of State for Science, Innovation and Technology to dictate the decisions that the police should be making. Obviously, I'm not privy to all of the contextual information, but it does strike me as concerning that these kind of flare-ups within society could then promote further violence and tensions which could produce dangerous results for the rest of society and something that we need to be careful about.
You've entered this arena directly yourself in the last 24 hours. You wrote yesterday to the head of Research England, which funds scientific work, and you criticised a tweet by someone called Dr. Kate Sang, works in Edinburgh, I think, and called for her to be sacked from one of the Research England's committees. Her offence, according to you, is to say that she is, I'm quoting here, disturbed by the government's crackdown on support for Hamas. Now, I don't know exactly what she said because the tweet's been deleted, but are people going to be sacked for saying they're disturbed by the government's actions?
No. So what I said was this was a board that was created to promote inclusivity, diversity, by UKRI. So it's a public board, people that are meant to be representing an important agenda around equality and diversity and inclusivity. And it is not appropriate, therefore, for them to be promoting extremist views. Now, I think anybody would say that if you are questioning the government's approach to a prescribed terrorist organisation, that is not only unacceptable, but also extreme. And it is a criminal offence to promote terrorism. Now, I'm not saying this individual has committed a criminal offence. I'm saying in general. So that just puts it into context. Now, surely we think that's unacceptable, surely.
That may be your opinion, might be my opinion, might be the opinion of many viewers. But Research England's an independent body. You're not alleging that this individual has broken the law. No. So is it for ministers to be telling an independent body who they should have on a committee because you don't like what she said?
So I think if you read the letter, I didn't say you must take the following steps. I said that I strongly recommend, and I
when I get a message from the Secretary of State saying I strongly recommend, I'm going to read it as get on with it.
Well, let's look at UKRI's response. UKRI's own response was that they too are deeply concerned and shocked about this, and that they are going to take action and investigate it. Now, they wouldn't be saying that if they thought everything was hunky-dory. And I don't think that anybody would suggest that is reasonable, that the promotion of terrorism is OK.
All right. This week, you're going to lead this government, our government's contribution to an international conference on artificial intelligence at Bletchley Park, with all of the wartime echoes of that and so on. What do you hope to achieve with this event?
Yes, we've been quite public about our objectives when it comes to this summit. It's the first ever global summit on AI safety. It's focusing on the frontier. Now, the frontier are the highly capable general models, and there's never been a global conversation on that. Yet it presents the biggest risks and the biggest opportunities, and we've been quite honest and open about those risks. And what we want to achieve is a deeper understanding on the risks. It is quite an unknown area to an extent because it is moving so quickly. It's the most transformative but yet most quickly moving technology that we've ever seen advancing. So we want to gain a better understanding of the risks. We want to create long-standing networks, a panel that the Prime Minister announced last week, to enable us to do that research, to really drill down, to produce a regular report. And we want to make sure that this summit is the beginning of a journey, not an end. And we want to also have a conversation about what more can the companies do. That's why the companies are coming, as well as the countries. And what guardrails can we be putting in place to ensure that the UK is safe and the rest of the world is too.
So what do you actually expect to come out of this week?
So what we expect to come out of this is a deeper understanding collectively of the risks, a process that we can all follow to drill down into those risks, a regular report coming out, a panel that is set up. We expect to really identify what more can the companies do in this space, what more can we do in terms of guardrails, and this should be the first of many summits. This is the beginning of the journey, not the end. OK, I'm
a nerd, so I could talk about this forever, but I need to talk to you about something else that's happened. And I want to ask you this, not so much as a Secretary of State, but as a woman parliamentarian. Last week we saw yet another Member of Parliament caught up in the allegations of sexual misconduct. And now this seems to be epidemic on the parliamentary state. Let me just show you something. I think we can see here there are 16 members of Parliament who are now sitting as independents. They didn't come into Parliament as independents, but they lost the party whip for sexual harassment, racism, prejudice, assault, unspecified. And these are all allegations, OK? But we know. I want to ask you, how do you feel about having to work alongside these individuals? You meet them in meetings, you have to brush past them in the corridors and so on. How do you feel about this? Obviously,
it's completely unacceptable to have any type of behaviour akin to this, not just in the House of Commons, but across society. And we should, I very strongly believe, be setting the right example and the right tone for others to follow. But it's certainly not my experience of working in the House of Commons. This is completely unacceptable, as I said, but it is a very small minority of people, and the vast majority of MPs, what they're focused on is working really hard for their constituencies and delivering, and that's the very reason why they entered politics in the first place. So I do think we've got to be careful that we don't cast a stain over all of us, because that's certainly not representative of the experience that I have.
So you're saying these are really bad apples, but the barrel is sort of OK?
I'm saying that not every MP has been conducting this type of behaviour.
I'm
And I
not
think we
saying
need to
that,
be
but
careful.
I'm just saying
of
it seems like an
staining the
awful
rest.
lot of people caught up in this, and I just wonder if there's something that you would want to say about the culture of the Commons, particularly, that seems to be producing this result.
This is a small number, but it is an unacceptable number, and it should not be tolerated. That's why we, as a party, have acted swiftly in any of these cases to strip the whip. The culture that I have experienced in the House of Commons is not one that facilitates or encourages this type of behaviour. In fact, it is one where people are working at extreme pace to deliver for their local people.
Michelle Donelan, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.